It's Friday. Haven't done that for a while.
Oh dear, that was frightening.
I think you look rather impressive like that, but just don't let your camera freeze in that position. It won't look good.
No, that would be just embarrassing.
Oh, I know who you remind me of. You look like, do you remember that Maxwell House advert? We don't like change, do we, Deirdre?
No, I don't remember it.
Really? Oh, you've got to look up online. It was brilliant, that one. I thought it was hilarious.
Let's say hello to everybody. Hello, I'm Russ Kane. This is Mr. Phil Dave. This is The Daily Show, of course, on Men's Radio Station. On a Friday, we like to be a little bit loose and fancy, a bit like politics in the UK. You never know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes.
I was going to say,
cluster duck.
An hour is a long time in British politics.
I know. Presumably, there'll be an election, and Monster Raving Loony Party will be voted in by the time we've got to the end of the show. Got to be. Straight in from the United States of America, in the northeastern section of that mighty nation. That was quite good. G'day, Al. Doesn't talk like that at all. Azadon Brown. Lovely that you'll watch. I love it. We've got so many American viewers. It cheers me up no end. I like it. I like it.
It links you to your transatlantic home, doesn't it?
It does.
Makes you feel more connected across the pond.
Makes me feel much more at home. I don't think I'm going to get going back to LA. I was asked about that the other day, and as my two best friends have now died over there, both Shirley Green and also Francis McGuy, and died in the last 2 years. I've got no real reason to go back to LA, because they were really why I went. And there we go. So from northeastern states, we go to Manhattan, New York. New York, so good. They just named it. Elizabeth Green there. And what have we got here? Angela Collins and
Elizabeth Green. You can tell us. Have you got some sort of documentary or something like that?
No, she's got nothing that she wants to plug. Now, what have we got here? Kimmy Lashmar. Hello, I'm all double jabbed, you dirty cow. Sorry, it's vaccinations. I'm all double jabbed this morning. Yay. Now,
the prick was involved.
There was you'll just feel a small prick, not for the first time. Mary G. Williams, Southeastern Section, checking in. Copy that, Red Leader. I love that. No, and so
I love it. Brilliant.
Mary G. Williams is in Kentucky. Julie Voice is in Texas.
Morning, chaps. Oh, I love the way that she's in Texas and she says morning, chaps. The British streak.
Which is very English.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. The British streak is still there. Morning, chaps. Yeah. You'll be pleased to know that normality has been restored to Houston. Today will be 86 degrees and sunny. It'd be really annoying if it was 86 degrees and pouring, let's be honest.
86
Fahrenheit.
Wow. No, I get that. It's obviously
it wouldn't be Celsius. That would be quite
hot.
I
understand 86. I still don't understand centigrade. I never do.
Well, I just don't understand why we as a species. No, I don't get kilometers at all. They're a bloody waste of time. But what I don't understand is why we as a species, we always seem to offer sort of the best possible outcome wherever we always big something up better than it is. Yeah, why is it whenever we're talking in heat, we talk in Fahrenheit. Whenever we're talking cold, we always talk in Celsius. And that way, when it's cold, we say, it's going down to -12 today, whatever the hell it's going down to, right? That's because it makes it sound colder. When you talk in Fahrenheit, it makes it sound hotter. We always do extremes.
Yeah. That's an interesting rant. That's an interesting rant. That is a niche rant.
That's a British rant because it's on the weather.
Of course it is. Oh. Turned out nice again, hasn't it? Here we go from Kimmy Lashmar. Is it just me who has trouble sleeping when the government is in turmoil? Yep, it's just you. It's unnerving. Please cheer me up. Actually, I'm sure you will.
Well, look, Kimmy.
No pressure
first
then,
and foremost. Let me reassure you that I don't think it's just you who is slightly unnerved at everything that's going on in British politics at the moment.
Terrible.
I think what we're even slightly more nerved about is that the alternative doesn't seem any better. If anything, it seems 100 times worse. But I would suggest that one way or another, we need to stop sweating the small stuff, although it's massive stuff, we know, and think to ourselves, there's not a lot we can do to change it for now until they call a general election. And even then, it's not very likely that even if they did call one now or in 2 years' time, they would be able to change it. So I'd say, let's just worry about the here and now. Let's have a bit of fun for the next hour. And just remember, whatever happens, things could always be worse. You could be Liz Truss. Just saying.
In God we trust. Here's the thing. And this is my answer to you, Kimmy. And the reason I always stress this, that we read the comments out, is because our stream, the Daily Show, is taken by Wandering Wimble and Deluxe Radio, with there's 70,000 people listening. So they can't see this. They can only hear the show.
They never turn off. It's always 70,000, you know.
Well, all right. So maybe it's 100,000.
It's always, no, it's always the same people today. Always the same people.
I know them all personally, because we had them all in the pub.
We write to them.
Well, Phil does. I'm not that fussed, but Phil's very sweet, and he sends every single one of them a Christmas card. It's unbelievable. The way he tries to build an audience.
I have to start writing the Christmas cards in March, but I send everyone a Christmas card.
Sure. And when you go into Tesco's to get the Christmas card, there's how many would you like? And you go 70,000. They go, okay.
Well, and then by curious coincidence, they're on special offer. You see my club card.
Go through, each one is scanned individually. Beep.
Yeah, it does take a while. I'm telling you.
Do the people in the queue behind you get pissed off, or are they quite sanguine?
They're almost understanding. When I read, one of them actually turned out to be one of the 70,000. It was quite a coincidence. So I saved on a stamp with that one.
You saved a stamp.
Hello, John, if you're watching, by the way.
That's great. So Kimmy, here's my thing about the government and everything like that. Absolutely, the square root of sod all that we can do. It is not in our hands. We have no say in the matter. Now, before you start screaming, hang on a minute, we've got an election, we can vote. Yeah, you can, as and when it's time to vote. But when they're going through these death rolls and death thralls, there's nothing you can do about it. If they decide to change ministers, there's nothing you can do. They don't phone you up and say, hello, do you have Netflix and Sky? And by the way, we're thinking of changing the Minister for Agriculture. Are you all right with it? They don't care. So you can't, I always say, don't sweat the small stuff. There's nothing you can do about it. If it's something you can do about it, time to get upset and annoyed. If you can't do anything about it, just have a good time.
I'm really surprised.
I know it sounds a bit cavalier. Sorry, Phil, go on.
No, I was going to say, I'm really surprised that we've never implemented a system a little bit like the X Factor. This should have been inspired by those reality shows by now. We just all download the government app, and depending on who we want to vote out, we can just vote with our app.
It's genius.
I don't know why we don't do it.
Like all the judges,
we call it 10-1.
Do we have to have Botox, and so that we don't look the same and can't move our faces, or would we be allowed not to have Botox?
No, but I tell you what I was thinking of is that I feel really sorry for the person who clearly put a lot, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely hideous, but the person who put an awful lot of design effort into Liz Truss's podium, and it's only had 45 days use. It's a real shame. But maybe they'll... I don't know. Well, the only thing I can think of...
Explain about the podium. I only found this out yesterday. Explain about the podium. I didn't know.
Yeah, okay. So if you've ever noticed, when the Prime Minister in office gives a speech at a podium outside number 10, every Prime Minister has a different podium. And I don't mean it changes every day.
It's not a euphemism. He's talking about the actual podium.
No. The actual podium is changed with the Prime Minister. It's just sort of symbolize a change in office. So what happens is if you have a look at the podium that, say, Boris Johnson used, it's not the same one that Liz Truss has used. Liz Truss's one looks like a game of Jenga gone horribly wrong. Boris Johnson's one looks like he's found it in an antique shop. The smartest one, I thought, fun enough, was David Cameron's one. That looked like something else. If you know those kitchens from the early noughties where everyone had this beechwood colour, everyone went nuts about it.
Yeah, beechwood's nice.
So that was kind of it with David Cameron. I thought his was quite smart. Yeah, I thought his was quite smart though. So, but anyway, so it's distinctly possible that they might dig out Boris ones.
They go to B&Q and they go to the aisle, which is podiums, and then they buy it. Here's something I don't know if you did know. By the way, just before I just talk about artwork, this will blow your freaking mind.
How awful would it be though? How awful would it be if they threw Boris Johnson's one in the skip and he comes back?
Or his career.
They have to create a replica.
The trouble is, Azadon Brown says this, Celsius sounds colder. Yet, I've lived in places that are minus... Why am I doing that? He's not from Texas. Or Mississippi. Are in places that are... What the hell? Minus 40 Celsius? Dear God, are you cryogenically preserved? Bloody hell.
He is minus now.
40. Yeah, minus 40. That's quite... You probably need a scarf. If you're from the north of England, if you
minus 40 degrees, that's not cool. But no, you're right, it's not cool. It's freezing.
If you're from the north of England, by the way, or the northeast, particularly of England, that means you might wear just a long sleeve shirt as opposed to just a wife beater vest or a t-shirt in minus 40. You might, not necessarily,
Now wrong with a
the girls obviously would not be wearing stockings or tights because it's northeast England. Remember that -40 is the same as Fahrenheit.
Saves and taking them off.
Well, it saves time, doesn't it? Right, artwork. This will freak you out listening all over the world. When you are a minister of any description, you're a minister, you have a budget and you can bring in the artwork of your choosing. It's a mighty big budget. We're not talking about a couple of £100 here and pop down to, what was the name of that poster
Home
shop?
Sense.
Athena, when I was a kid, which had the picture of the chick scratching her bot, walking away on the tennis court, that sort of thing. Anyway, neither here nor there, but happy memories.
You went to some very classy shops, didn't you?
Did you not know that? That's like the best-selling poster of all time.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah. You must know the picture. I mean, look it up.
What's it called? The Crack of Dawn.
It's called New Balls, please.
The cheek of it.
It's called You'll Never Get That Over the Net. Anyway, neither here nor there. The artwork.
It's called Line Judge.
When you leave office, right, you are allowed to keep the artwork of your choice. So somebody like Liz Truss, who's done F all for 43 or 45 days, I mean, the shortest serving prime minister in I think, in history. Well, absolutely disgraceful.
She's what she is, just to clarify. She's the shortest serving prime minister who was alive when they left office. The only other person to serve a shorter time, I can't remember his name, but he died in office, and that's why he served shorter time.
Well, her career died in office, that's for sure. Anyway, neither here nor there. You're allowed to keep the artwork of your choice. Think about it. You, me, everybody watching around the world, unless you're American, you're paying for this. You're paying for this. So you might come in, you've been there 45 days, I'll take whatever you like off the wall. Okay, thanks, I'll take this. And I'm talking about thousands of pounds. And the civil service, somebody was explaining to me yesterday, and this came via the civil service. This has been going on, by the way, for decades and decades and decades. It amounts to a fortune. It amounts to a fortune. So please stop bitching about there's not enough money for the NHS. There's enough money for sodding artwork. It's a nonsense.
Well, to be fair, it is kind of important to decorate one's home with good artwork.
Yeah, home that we're never going to see. It's no benefit to us. It's an office.
But actually,
it's an office. Get over it.
Okay, but I put it to you like this. I'm just saying, okay, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, so hear me out.
Okay.
Don't you think that if you look at artwork that means something to you and actually puts you in a good frame of mind, isn't it better to be put in a good frame of mind when you're supposedly trying to run the country?
I get that.
Don't get me wrong. I agree. It's a total waste of money. But what I'm trying to get at is I wonder whether or not if that is the purpose behind it.
Or just go to what replaced Athena and get a picture of a chick scratching her butt, walking away from you on the tennis court. There you go. That would always put me in a good mood.
I've just looked up. Apparently that painting is called Hawkeye.
You're being silly. Is it? It's being silly. Why are you wearing dark glasses now?
It's really bright in here. I'm actually getting a bit of a headache. Sorry.
Where are you? You're back. You're in
at work.
Oh, you're at work. Yes. Okay. You now look like I'm interviewing like a drug smuggler, which is great. But you do look like that. Now, Facebook user, which means that this person you're watching.
The most adventurous I've got is Nurofen Plus.
Nurofen, I know. I've never done drugs. It's just I'm like Gene Simmons.
Can I see if I can turn the lights down in here? You keep going. I'm going to disappear off screen while I do.
No, you do that. Dave Sleek, greetings one and all. Dave, we hope you're well. When you're down in London, we will. We'll try and meet for a coffee because God, he's so not well. Jeez, he's so brave. He's running this enormous psychotherapeutic community, and he's so not well. He's damn brave and stoic. He's an amazing fellow. Mac, Facebook user, which means you're watching on my espresso bar. What do you call it? Group on Facebook. Me and Ray are going to make our own photos of the cheeky tennis photo. Don't.
One would assume who that has to be.
This has got to be Paul Claridge. Don't.
Oh, no, you don't. I don't think so. Me and Ray, who do you meet up with?
Well, it can't be Colin. Is it Colin?
I don't know.
Colin's watching this?
I must admit, I've never known him to watch this.
Be stunned. Yesterday, I got a lovely treat. I met the boys for a cup of coffee because we haven't seen each other for a little bit. My two best pals, and they presented me with my birthday present, a beautiful box of cigars. Not a few cigars, a beautiful box of Monte Cristos. I was so happy. I was so I was stunned. I didn't know what to say.
Really I missed the trick. I spent all that money on your birthday present. I should have just bought you an e-cigar.
No, hang on.
I didn't spend.
Ow! Bugger. Hang on. I just smashed everything. What am I doing?
The hell is he doing, for crying out?
Hang on.
There it is, right on cue.
This was my lovely
By the way, have you tried it yet? Because I don't know what.
No, I'm working my way. Do you want to try it now? No,
not necessarily. I just did. I wondered if it was any good.
Oh no, it'll be fabulous. It'll be fabulous.
It was recommended to me, so I hope it's okay. But for what it's worth, the person who recommended it to me knows your taste.
It's Leo here, you schmuck. Leo Green.
Oh.
Funny
Hang
enough,
on. Who are you calling a schmuck? It's not my fault it comes up saying Facebook user.
No, it is mine, Leo. Leo Green, son of the great... I didn't even know. And before I'd even met Leo, I was a huge fan, because I've always adored radio, of Benny Green. I loved his style. I loved his laid-back delivery. Talented man. Never dreaming I would get to know and become really good mates with his son, Leo Green, who is equally talented, a fantastic saxophonist. Sorry, I know, he is. And just a great guy. And were your ears burning yesterday? Because Colin and Ray and I were all talking about you. I hate to say it, nice things.
Oh.
Schmucks.
Have you had a good birthday week?
Oh no, it was over on Saturday. That was it.
Is that it?
That was it. Sunday I was on my own all day. Sunday, this was it. This is real life. I'm being very honest. Sunday I was on my own all day. So I went from being in the bosom, just wanted to say bosom, of my family on Saturday. It was lovely. Wonderful family tea at my daughter's. Then we went out to Soho for dinner in the evening, which was lovely.
Can I just say, Francine, your cousin, is just stuff of legend.
Isn't she? She's amazing, isn't she?
She's brilliant. Amazing.
When I say family and Phil Dave.
I know. I'm not entirely sure why on earth I got the invite, but I'm very flattered.
Because you're local.
I was boosting the numbers.
You were just, because we really needed the numbers boosted with all my 8,000 cousins. No, it was lovely. Lauren put on a fantastic tea. Everybody got, here's the thing, right? Everybody got cake to take home, except me. I got nothing.
Excuse me, I didn't get cake. I didn't get cake to take home. Yeah. I wasn't told that. But then again, I left quite early.
Yeah, because you
as I was up at silly o'clock.
Let's discuss the phone call.
Phone call?
The phone call you made to me this week.
What I made to you this week.
Let's discuss the phone goes.
Oh, that. Now, hang on just a cotton picking second. No. Hang on. Before you go down that route. Right, hang on. Right. Not least of all because I can't completely remember what I said in that phone call. But anyway, before we go down that route. I might have been mildly inebriated, but anyway, can I just say,
as a newt.
Anyway, can I just say that before we go down that route, speaking of Lauren, muzzles and congrats to her and Nicole.
Yes. This is my if you don't know who Lauren is, it's I'm sorry, just before you say that, Lauren is my daughter, because otherwise everyone's going, who the hell's Lauren?
Who's Lauren? Absolutely.
So please say that again.
1 million hits, 1 million downloads hits on their podcast, which is phenomenal. Because I don't think we've had that many since we started MRS, so that's very impressive.
No, we haven't even had that when we started. When Howard started the women's radio station a year before Howard and I started men's radio. Lauren, my daughter, started a podcast with her on-screen partner, not her actual partner, her on-screen partner, a very nice woman called Nicole Goodman, and it's called the Self-Care Club. I thought, okay, great. And this week they the 1 millionth download occurred. So it's a huge achievement. She's a fantastic kid. I'm in awe. We speak every day. We're crazy close. And I'm not saying I have a favorite child out of my four, but No, I don't. Yeah. Of all my daughters, she's my favourite. How many have you got?
There we go.
One.
That's well recovered.
That was all right, because otherwise the kid. Well, one's in Texas, so he can give her monkeys, and the other two are like working crazy, so they won't be watching. I don't think they've ever seen me do that. So yeah, 1 million downloads. It's phenomenal, and I can't wait for it to go onto TV. Which I just anyway. There's plans afoot, which are quite exciting. Called the Self-Care Club. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious, and people just love it. And there's a book coming out. They just signed a book deal yesterday. I know. She's going like gangbusters. Done it all herself. No agent, manager, nothing. She's like me. No agent, no manager.
I was going to say, I can't understand where she gets her work ethic from.
Well, you're very kind. It's weird, you know.
No, genuinely, I can't. I'm joking. I'm kidding.
I can hear you, by the way. I can still hear you, and I can see you. So Phil phones me, and I can always tell when Phil's pissed. In the English sense of the word, not the American, I'm annoyed. I can always tell when Phil's annoyed, obviously, because steam comes out of his ears. And he goes, really? Because he's the most polite person, unlike me.
Well, I never.
Polite. Well, do you know, really? No, he usually starts when he's really like, some people. I go, what's the matter?
It's kind of true. I do that a bit.
You wouldn't believe what happened. You know.
Hang on, I'm not Victor Meldrew.
No, but you do kind of, you're very polite, because I just start effing and blinding and going raving mad, and everybody hides, and then they come back when I've calmed down. Anywho, so just Phil decides to phone me. I don't know why. And
what time did I call you? It wasn't that late, was it?
It wasn't that late, but it was, it was in the evening.
Yeah.
Let's just say it was a conversation which made no sense at all. It was surreal.
To be honest with you, it was only because, but isn't it nice
charming.
to know?
It was charming. It was charming.
Isn't it good to know, though, that clearly you're at the forefront of my mind when I'm at Soho Whiskey Club?
Yeah.
So even
I think it's a good thing, although the association.
Well, I was also quite excited by the fact that actually someone turned to me and said, "Is Russ not coming this evening?" And I didn't know how he knew that I knew you. No, but I didn't know how he knew I knew you, because I didn't know who the hell this chap was.
Oh yes, he's a very nice fellow.
He seemed like a really nice chap, but I just didn't know who he was. Guy.
No, I once sat next to him at a whiskey tasting, and we just got chit-chatting.
Well, anyway, he just said there's Russ coming this evening, so I thought, well, there's only one way to find out.
Unlikely with my love life. Hey, I'll tell you what I've discovered. Hang on.
Oh, gracious. This is what he's discovered. Are you ready for this?
This was another birthday gift, right? This was from my cousin, Janie. Yeah. And this.
Oh, look at that.
Fundador brandy. And you know
Fundador is wunderbar.
Well, it bloody is a brandy de Jerez. And Fundador, right? So I'm holding up a bottle. And the thing with this, right?
Please drink responsibly.
I've got to tell you, a little tiny drop. I'm keeping this to ourselves. A little tiny drop of it in your morning coffee. Oh, it's marvelous. It's marvelous. That takes away the chill, and I can't remember what I've got to do for the rest of the. No, I mean a little tiny.
And it takes away the flu. Allegedly.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing. I'm going to ask you a question. I've got to get rid of this.
Oh, gracious me. That normally means I have to answer it.
For God's sake, shut up.
What?
Nothing. I don't know.
I mean, he's right grumpy pieces.
But my world's falling apart. Now, yesterday, somebody was speaking to me on the phone. Quite exciting.
What's that?
Life. And they said, are you going to get the next jab, the next COVID jab?
Oh.
Assuming I'd go, yes, we'll go together and make a day out of it. And I said, well, I'm not sure. There was a pause.
Are you going in nice on your holiday? I'm going Moderna.
Moderna, isn't that where they build Ferraris? It is actually. It's Moderna. Close enough. Pfizer. No, I'm not a conspiracy nut. I'm actually not. People who know me well, not. I just try and see things for what they are. But they did an interview with Mrs. Petula Pfizer this week. A woman who kind of looked like she worked in a branch of Nationwide Building Society at a sort of mid-range level. Not being rude, but that's for sure. And They said, and this freaked me out. This is a full, proper press conference. Did you test the vaccine? And she said, no.
Hang on just a second.
I thought this is crazy stuff. And I thought, no, this is just, kind of
hang on.
Greg Gutfield type stuff. But that's what she said. They didn't test it.
I don't want a lawsuit on our hands. It's widely known that they've said that they never test it to see that if it prevents the virus. That's
precisely.
What they have
they didn't
said.
test it for
they didn't
one
say
thing.
They didn't test it. They've tested the jab countless times. So they've got to be careful with that, because that's for sure. Because it's not that they didn't test it. They just didn't test. They just didn't test it preventing COVID.
So the one thing that the billions and billions and billions of dollars have been spent and that they have made, by the way, Pfizer. No, did I have? I had the Pfizer jab, right?
You see, they didn't test it then.
Yeah, they tested it on me, and look, I went round the bend. And Pfizer have encountered the biggest fine in American legal history. Now, I don't know the figure off the top of my head. You can look it up.
And it's more than just a Pfizer, I can tell you.
Yay! It was billions and billions of dollars. It was a massive fine. So
it was mighty fine.
It was mighty fine. I was absolutely stunned when they said,
I'll keep going until I find one you like. I don't care.
Come on, keep going.
Deep.
They haven't tested it to see the one thing that you go and have the jab for. Like, it helps you fight COVID.
No.
Scared the crap out of me.
Hang on. No. I'm sorry, but that's incorrect. Again, you can't say that. It's not that it doesn't help you fight. On the contrary, that's the one thing they did test, is if it helps someone with COVID. It's more about that they said they never tested it to see if it actually stops the disease from spreading. And I think that's a very different thing. It's fine. Look, we're over it. COVID's in the past now.
No, it isn't. No, don't be daft. Of course it isn't. It's never going away. You know that. It's never going away.
Chantel Rickards is very cross with me for saying that.
It's not going away, Phil. It is.
No, it's not going away, but it's not quite the threat that it was.
As much as the... You're so wrong. Can I just... I'm going to drag Chantel. She can start shouting at you. Right.
Hi, Chantel.
Yeah.
Oh God, you two are on fire this morning. I think
someone should be fired this morning. I mean, I'm telling you that now.
Hooray! I get my Friday lunchtime back.
No, not really. So, don't go.
For a sandwich.
We love you, really. We love you, really. Don't go. Now, listen. The point about it is, Chantal, and hi, and welcome, and thank you for joining us as always.
Oh yeah, hi, Chantal.
I don't think the numbers for COVID. And if you look at people,
have you got poultry hanging up behind you? What's that?
What is that?
Poultry?
No, it looks like you've got like grouse or something
hanging up on the wall.
What is that behind you? Other side.
Hang on.
Over the other shoulder.
This side.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
2 Indian puppets, which are a wedding present for somebody that are waiting there for their wedding day.
Have they done something wrong, or
yes? What you don't like them?
What happened?
What is going on?
You're supposed to give wedding presents. You're supposed to give wedding presents that you'd like to receive yourself.
You're going to go back to John Lewis and go, I've got some grouse here. I've had them a while. A bit whiffy, but
they're not very pheasant.
I like them, even if you don't.
If it's from Chantel, it's marvelous.
Can I just say, I'm sure they'll look lovely in your friend's place.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
she can't
you.
wait for
No, they are
wedding.
not pheasants. I have
like
a pheasant something or other in the house, but it's not that. No, I haven't got
Back to COVID.
Hang on. No. Hang on. You can't end on that one. You've got pheasant something. What? Does this mean that you've got like some sort of stuffed pheasant or something?
Well, I'll have to show you now. You'll have to wait for 12 seconds whilst I take it off the wall.
That's all right. It's okay. We'll have a look and see what Chantel's doing.
It's an interactive show. It's unfolds.
I'm sorry. I was just curious. I just think it's you can't leave us hanging with that one for crying out loud. But hang on a sec. Oh my.
Oh, Jesus.
Good heavens.
Oh, my. Describe it to Deluxe Radio.
Hang on a second. Right. Yeah, hang on a second.
That is like a Lizzie Cundy hat when she goes to Tesco's.
Chantel, that is extraordinary.
I think it is extraordinary. And in fact, I've got a mirror that's on the wall and this sits around the mirror. So you don't normally see my face when I do this. And it's just pheasant
Wow,
feathers.
that is the picture we want. I want that picture. But I don't
So
know
it's
how
like,
to say it.
just for those, can I just say, those who are listening on Deluxe Radio, Chantel has basically worked out how to mate a pheasant with a Christmas wreath. And this is
huge. It's huge.
That's the product of it. It's extraordinary. It's very nice.
Yeah.
It costs
if you like feathers.
It's sort of like a Lucy that tickles you.
It's good. It's good.
It's on the wall, on a mirror. Anyway,
talking of loose seats,
enough of my home decorating.
Talking of loose seats, Leslie Demisa, my chum, who's often on the show, the loose seat broke. So I said, was it something to do with her posterior region?
She could start a new show.
Go down well. That did not go down well.
There's a new show there, Loose Seat Women.
Lucy.
No, that was a woman called Lucinda Lampton.
Oh yeah, loose seat.
I wish I didn't amuse myself so much.
It's very good. Very good. So anyway,
Lucinda Lampton did do a television series about loose seats or loose. Does anybody remember that on ITV?
What? Who really?
Lucinda Lampton? Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Goodness me.
I promise you.
Your mother late again. I was hoovering. What was it? Right, we're not going back. The show moves on, Linda, at a pace that is dazzling. It was a fantastic piece of furniture art that Chantel had. All I was going to say about COVID, then we're going to move on to things of a much nicer nature.
For God's sake, come on. Right.
Is this the government, and it would be the government of any persuasion, could not do another lockdown in this country because there'd be rioting. People have had enough. The figures are not good. If you go through just Twitter or Facebook, people left, right, and centre saying, I can't believe this. I've dodged it for 3 years. Look, and they're showing the testing kit. They just don't want us to know. It's a bit Ceausescu-like, isn't it? You know, if it's cold, Ceausescu told the weather people to tell everybody it was warmer than it actually was. Didn't end up well for him and his missus, but they got what they deserved. Quite frankly, awful. But I think they, the country's on a knife edge. Everybody's going quite slowly round the bend, and they couldn't have another
round the bend ages ago.
But they just couldn't have another COVID. They just couldn't. I think they'd prefer to let it run rampant than have any form of lockdown or restrictions on what we can do.
Honest to God,
the economy couldn't take it.
All this talk of COVID, I need to blow my nose now. For goodness.
But Chantel, you're in town a lot. Phil's in town a lot. I'm in town a couple of times a week with meetings and stuff like that. And I have to tell you, I know it's a London thing and you're listening all over the world.
Excuse me, I'm just going to go and clean the pipe.
Oh, geez. Goodbye. But when you see the shops that are still empty, that were big brand names, and they haven't been replaced, no one's come along and said, "Oh, good, that's good prime position." I'll take. No, it's still very sad around Soho, certainly around Regent Street, which is like what the premier street in even in German Street.
Still German quite a lot of empty shops.
Not going to lie, it's gone from the Premier Street to the Premier.
Can you imagine if he did drugs? Can you just imagine what Phil Dave would be like on drugs? God,
no, that would be really.
This is him, and he doesn't touch. He hardly does anything. And literally, the most exciting thing he ever did, he took some paracetamol once to get rid of a headache.
I did spend half the night this week with Phil Dave, which was very peculiar. And I was lying in my bed with my iPad on my bed, and Phil Dave was on my iPad broadcasting live from a television station in London. And he was as bouncy at 3 o'clock in the morning as he is now.
He is. He's infuriating. He's infuriating because I used to bounce. Yeah, before
I can only apologise, Chantel. Seriously, and I just only thought it was bad enough to have nightmares, and then you wake up and there I am. I'm so sorry. The thing
about Phil, I would come out the studio at 4. When I finished the Petri Hoskin show, and which is now stopped, and Phil would be there looking immaculate. Everybody else looks like, you're okay. And Phil is.
I've never understood that. For goodness' sake, get some more sleep. It's easy. Well, it's not easy, I suppose, but you know what I mean.
It's not. I can't do it. Although, interestingly, no, I don't want to. Let's get on to TV. Let's get on. I hope you get my little messages. Thank you.
Little messages.
Extraction with Chris Hemsworth. You suggested last Friday. Fantastic.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Have you heard they're remaking? Have you heard they're remaking it abroad? It's called Foreign Extraction.
Chantal, please don't encourage.
Don't encourage it.
Please. I've got a long day ahead of me. Please don't encourage him. Please. So
I'm off to Brighton after.
Could you shut up for a second, Chris? So Chris Hemsworth, Extraction was fantastic. The other thing that you suggested, Interceptor, was fabulous.
No, and neither
of
those.
I suggested that. I'm going mad. Interceptor, great.
No, I didn't suggest either of those. I suggested something called All the Knives Are Out.
Oh, that was great. All the old knives. No, All the Old Knives.
Yes.
That was fabulous. Chris Pine and Sandy Newton.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love that film.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
2 crackers that you suggested. Thank you very, very much. What have I done here like an idiot? I'm sorry. Here we got Dave Sleet. A question for the celluloid goddess.
Celluloid goddess, thank God for that. He could have made that a hell of a lot more unpopular.
The celluloid goddess. What does Chantal think of the situation with The Crown?
Oh, well, I know they've been filming extensively out in Mallorca because a girlfriend of mine has been out on holiday twice in the last few weeks, and they are still filming all the scenes, the Dodi Fayed scenes, out in a place called Porto Andrax, which is in Mallorca, just north of Palma, Mallorca. And they're still there filming. So whatever it is, they're filming
probably refilming.
Oh, God only knows. I'm slightly nervous about it. I think my feeling is it's now got too close to where we really are in the world of those people. And it was fine when it seemed to be history, but now it's sort of butting up against real day. And of course, we now have a king. And I think it feels more difficult to put it out as a drama. I mean, we've just had This Is England, which is the drama about Boris that Ken Branagh played the part of Boris, and that was the
Blimey, that freaked me out, the way he played Boris. It was almost better than Boris did.
Yeah, and that's a real life story that's only 2 years old.
But Chantal, don't you agree? There's I don't know, for me, there's something about sort of making a drama out of and don't get, before anyone makes any funny comments, I know the royal family are very good at making their own dramas, but there's something very wrong about making a drama out of the royal family compared to making a drama out of a former, possibly incoming serving prime minister. So I don't know. To me, I think politicians, it somehow feels easier and better to watch them having the proverbial taken out of them when it's the royal family.
Because they come and go.
It feels very uncomfortable.
Isn't it because they come and go and we don't really care? I mean, we care about how the country is run. Of course we do. But we don't care about them as people. Whereas
and also now Her Majesty's not around anymore. That feels even more wrong somehow.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chantal. I think and also they should have I think King Charles said maybe it was time to have a disclaimer on it saying, hey, it's not a documentary, everybody. It's not a reenactment. It's just drama.
Wasn't it Dame Judi Dench she said that rather than King Charles?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, the two of them are easily confused, I know, but
King Charles was great as M. Because she got stabbed in the church in Scotland. But can't have everything.
Well, I was approached, was it last year or about 18 months ago, to run a charity that was an arts charity that was being set up, which was it was going to give a verification for documentaries and dramas that were based on real life. And they were going to say whether they were 3 out of 5 or 2 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 for historical accuracy. I was very flattered to be asked, but it was a role I decided not to take up. But I mean, it does pose an interesting question about whether one has to be historically accurate in everything that you do, or whether you put up a disclaimer. I personally think if you put up a disclaimer saying some of these scenes are imagined, then you're okay.
But apart from anything, I thought that was actually a requirement anyway. So if something is, for example, if a drama is based on fact, or if it is, sort of partially, then I am quietly confident. We've seen it in other programs where they say this has been inspired by real life events, or this is sort of based on a true story. I thought that actually normally that is actually the done thing.
Well, it is actually the done thing. I'm not sure how legal that is, because I think in the US you don't have to do that. And you can use the characters of real life human beings and put them in any scenario you want to without being sued by them. So it's different wherever you're coming from. I'm not quite sure what the law is these days. But I mean, I think it's safest to put up a disclaimer that says some of these scenes are imagined. I don't know. That's what I'd do. I'd go for safety.
The trouble is, you can make up anything, can't you? If you want, and people can be. I'm not saying they are. I'm not being prescriptive, but they can be very gullible. And if it's done with enough verve and vigor and conviction, everyone will come away and go, "That's just what it was like on the yacht."
Well, in Crossroads, 10,000 people in Birmingham turned up to Meg Richardson's wedding at Birmingham Cathedral.
Which, if you knew anything about Meg Richardson, would be odd on many levels.
Brilliant.
God, was Joe Good there? I bet Joe Good turned up. She loves a wedding. Joe Good would just turn up in a hat.
Loves a wedding, and she was in Crossroads.
That's right, she was with the.
Look who it is.
Yeah, it is.
Hello, Francine.
My cousin. Now, what else has come across your purview?
Well,
as opposed to pay-per-view.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, indeed. We're now getting rather used to having to pay for our content over and above our television license. But ITV, still going strong, funded by advertising, as it is, has brought out a brand new drama, which is called The Walk-In, with Stephen Graham, who we often mention on this show because he's just one of
fantastic actor. My goodness me.
But this time he's playing a real-life former neo-Nazi who then becomes a lecturer and a reformed human being and realizes that actually hate is evil, and campaigns to put neo-Nazism and white nationalism to one side. And
let me guess, he converts to Judaism.
No, I don't think he does. But I mean, he is a real life character who becomes very, very much focused on he runs a group called Hope, Not Hate. And this is really a story about him. And it's bookended. The first episode, I think there are going to be 5 episodes on ITV. It's bookended with the real life attack on a dentist in Wrexham, and I think in 2015, who was a person of colour. And then the end of the first episode is the murder of the MP, Joe, what is her surname? Joe Cox.
I was going to say Joe Cox.
Yeah, this is a true life drama about somebody who's really at the front of trying to infiltrate the white nationalists who are perpetrating all sorts of hate crimes around the UK. And Stephen Graham is this person. But you see what happens is that there is a young, rather vulnerable man who gets sucked into the neo-Nazi group. And you don't quite know which way his story is going to go. Is he going to be the perpetrator of one of these crimes? Or is he just a slightly hopeless, hapless character who gets dragged along in the wake of all of this ghastly neo-fascism?
Do you think, Chantal, out of interest,
terrific.
Just out of interest, do you think when an actor takes on a role like that, do you have admiration for them? Do you think they're mad? Do you think that they're brave? I don't know, because I'm sort of so torn between emotions, because part of me thinks, well done for showing a real dark part of history. Another part of me thinks, why would anyone want to take on that role? And then the other part of me thinks, well, actually, you're quite brave, because as we've discussed already, what with people going to Meg's wedding at Crossroads, people can take this stuff really seriously, and they can actually leave themselves vulnerable, I suppose, to being attacked for taking on these kind of roles.
Well, possibly. I mean, certainly this.
Well, it's a job as well. I mean, the first thing is, let's be absolutely horribly brutal. It's a job.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very much in demand, and he's a
And
brilliant actor. But at the end of the day, actors have to work.
Yeah, he can pick any project he wants at the moment. He's cracked Hollywood. He's absolutely, the sort of favourite son of the acting community in the United Kingdom at the moment, and a thoroughly decent and nice human being. And probably this is a passion piece for him. I mean, one of the other films I'm going to talk about in a minute is All Quiet on the Western Front. And I went to a screening of that a couple of days, and Benedict Cumberbatch came along to open the screening. Now, he's not in the film, he hasn't produced the film, but he wants to get the message out there about how awful war is and has lent his name to that. So I think that people choose particular roles in film and television that they feel utterly passionate about. And clearly Stephen Graham, I think, is a fabulous actor and a decent human being who thinks that somebody should shine a light on the dark places.
I loved him in that thing in the set, and a lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was bloody marvellous. The set in the kitchen when he was the chef.
Boiling Point, yeah.
I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, and he was nominated as Best Actor for that.
And he was fabulous in the last Scorsese. Oh, come on, here we go.
The Scorsese,
with Pacino.
3.5 hours worth of.
Come on, long film where they're made to look younger. Oh, screaming at me on the end of my tongue. I hear you paint houses.
I did the interview with Scorsese and with Pacino. Now, what was it called? The Something.
And she still speaks to us.
She still speaks
to us. Can I tell you the weirdest thing about Martin Scorsese?
2019, The Irishman.
The Irishman. Thank you very much. The Irishman. I didn't even realize it was Stephen Graham.
I'm not going to pretend to. I can't pretend to remember that. I had to look it up. Sorry.
I saw it twice, and he was also brilliant in Colin Vaines's film. Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool as well.
Yeah,
that was Colin. Colin speaks very highly of him.
Yeah, and he was Elton John's manager in Bo Rap, as they call it, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bo Rap,
was he?
not Bo Rap, the Elton John.
The Rocket Man. The Rocket Man.
Rocket Man. Was he really? I've forgotten that.
Yeah, he was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's very fair. You never know it's him. He's so chameleon-like. He disappears into the role. You think, wow, that's Stephen Graham.
Yeah. But Michael Sheen is the other guy who does real life characters incredibly well. But this Stephen Graham piece is really good, and it's a hard watch because you just think, oh God, this is going to end so badly. And as we know, it certainly did for Joe Cox. But it's worth watching. And it's a hard-hitting drama for ITV. They don't normally take on things as gritty as this, but God, it's terribly well done. And it started this week. So take a look. If you've got time, it's called The Walk-In with Stephen Graham. It's in 5 episodes. Definitely worth it.
Okie dokie.
Okay. So then I mentioned very briefly All Quiet on the Western Front, which of course we know the phrase. Some of us will have read the book. Personally, I hadn't read the book, which was written by a German in 1929. He was an ex-veteran from World War I, and it is very much about the awfulness of war. It is a pro-peace book. It's different for us to watch it as Brits because we were very used to the British story and not the German story. But this has been incredibly well made by a German production company, German director, German cast. It is completely in German. It's being entered by Germany into the Oscars as their film for the international film category. It's an incredibly accomplished piece, and you just come out of it going, the horror of war is just unspeakably dreadful, and we must never let ourselves go back to that place. And it's just the story of these 4 young men who all go off to war, to the Western Front. I wasn't even really sure where the Western Front was. But as we now know, I think there was something like 20 million dead in the First World War and 20 million casualties. And all sorts of awfulness was perpetrated on the Western Front, which was part Luxembourg, part Belgium, part France. And it was just when the Brits and the Germans were learning about new tactics. So they were bringing in mustard gas.
It was the first industrial war. It was essentially first industrial war. The closest to that prior to that probably was the American Civil War when they brought in certain armaments, but this was the actual, because you have to put it. It was also a brilliant film made in black and white many years ago, quite on the Western Front.
Indeed.
But you have to bear in mind, up to that point, they were still doing cavalry charges. So you think about, they were still doing that against tanks. They had not worked out a horse and a sword against a tank. It's not going to work out too well for you.
No.
So that's it.
Depends on the horsepower.
Yeah.
Too soon. But
for goodness
the point
sake.
about it is, the point about it is this: nothing's been learned. You can make 1 million of these films. Nothing's been bloody learned whatsoever. The horrors are still there. They'd do it again tomorrow. World War One. You thought
they're doing it again today. I hate to say
that's what I'm saying. But of course they are. Of course they are. We don't even get to hear half of it, and it's just so tragic. I wouldn't go to see it, and I'll tell you why I won't go to see it. And I'll tell you why, because it's an era that makes me so depressed, such a waste of life for pointless war. Nothing changed afterwards, and like 20 years later, they did it all over again. Nothing was learned. So I would just come out being so depressed.
But do you ever wonder just how different the geographical landscape would be if it weren't for the world wars? As in, like, the families that never were, because people never lived to have their own children and grandchildren and what have you. The people that were displaced, so those who may have lived in one country before but then sort of got kicked out for whatever reason, and now they live elsewhere. It's just unbelievable to think that all of these years later, those world wars totally and utterly changed what's our present.
And the Western Front was an utterly pointless bit of World War One, in that they fought over it for years. For 4 years, in fact, and 4 million people died on the Western Front, and the line moved barely a few miles in that entire time.
Barely a few miles. This is the thing that people always forget. They think, oh, they must have moved. No, we're talking about sometimes yards, and you're sacrificing thousands of people for a few yards of a field. It's just awful.
Anyway,
the Peter Jackson film is one of the greatest pieces of cinema I've ever seen, where he colorized and used you know that normally they
World War II in color.
Yes. No,
not that.
No, it's all about World War One. It's the most incredible if you've never seen it.
No, I haven't seen it.
And you weren't conscripted, you joined up. And everyone thought this would be a fun thing to do. They had no idea the horror they were going to go to. The end line of this film, and it's a documentary, it's magnificent. I came away so moved. If I could think of the damn name of it, I would. Phil, if you could possibly find Peter Jackson, World War One. It's incredible to see it, not with the jerky movements because of this film speed, but all slowed down so it looks like a normal film. It's been colorized.
Oh, of course. And I've even seen it. It was amazing. It's called They Shall Not Grow Old.
They Shall Not Grow Old.
That was sensational. Brilliant.
The end line is this one guy. It doesn't follow a story. It's just extraordinary.
It's real footage.
Yes, it's all real footage. There's nothing fake. And
I'd completely forgotten I'd seen it until I saw the name. It was brilliant. One
guy had been out there enduring, the disgusting, stomach-churning hardships.
Yeah.
He comes back, he goes to his factory, and the bloke turns around. He's been away for 2-3 years. And he goes, "Hello, Fred, I haven't seen you around. You've been on nights." That, to me, summed up the complete pointlessness of the whole thing. He thought he'd been on night shift. He'd been on the front.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, that I do think occasionally one has to look at these things and appreciate that people thought they were doing the conscripts. They thought they were doing the right thing for their country. If you look at what's happening in SW1 at the moment, I think there are an awful lot of people who are not thinking about their country, and they are thinking about themselves. But that's
Chantal, don't be so harsh. Come on.
As if what self-seeking, lining their own pockets politicians? Surely not.
I don't know.
That's ridiculous. What a thing to say, you communist. She's the Che Guevara of southwest London. She is. I'm telling you now. She probably wanders around with a beret.
No, just pheasants. Oh dear. Well, listen, I'm going to give you something more fun to watch, which is a comedy drama.
Yes.
Only if you've got Disney Plus, called The Bear. And in fact, it's a little bit like Boiling Point, where you've got this mad chef running a kitchen. And the basic premise is a sort of high-flying New York chef who's in one of the, terribly trendy fancy restaurants. His brother commits suicide. He'd been running a sandwich bar, the family sandwich bar in Chicago. So this high-flying young chef goes back to Chicago to run this dive of a sandwich bar in Chicago, inherits the staff who are completely and utterly useless. I mean, beyond hopeless. The only saving grace is one sous chef who just comes in to help for a week as a sort of internship. And you suddenly think, okay, hang on a second, she knows what she's doing. And he is basically trying to turn the sandwich bar around. But it's incredibly well done. It's beautifully written. It's 8 episodes. The first series is 8 episodes. It's got incredibly good ratings. People are absolutely loving it. It's really well filmed. You feel just like when you watch Boiling Point, the freneticism of working in a kitchen, and you can feel how sharp the knives are. It's just really beautifully played out. And it's a comedy drama, but it's more drama than a comedy. But it's really well written and worth watching. It's called The Bear, and it's on Disney+.
They're pushing it out on YouTube. They're doing adverts for it. I don't have Disney+. Yeah, but and I thought, that looks quite fun. But I don't have the Disney Channel. But
can I just say, speaking of comedy drama, that's more drama than comedy. Yeah. I'm rewatching. I don't know why. It's just sort of cropped up on Amazon Prime the other day. I thought I'll give it a try again, and not a try. I've seen it already. I've seen all episodes, but it's Death in Paradise. It's just cropped up.
Oh, I love Death in Paradise.
I know. I loved it. So I'm watching it all over again.
Guess who my Twitter chum is?
Oh, who?
Ardlo Hanlon.
I love Ardlo Hanlon.
Oh, do you? I thought he was. I thought no. He was my least favorite of the of the tech. No, I'm sure he's lovely. No, it is the very glamorous woman who runs the cafe and restaurant on the beach.
So it's Catherine is her name in the actual thing, but isn't she Elizabeth someone in real life?
Yes, she is Elizabeth.
Really?
Yes. Très bien. She's a great sport, because I always do silly jokes and everything like that, and she always replies that we've never met, obviously. But I love Death in Paradise. Death in Paradise.
Oh, also, can I mention, sorry, Chantal, before we get to your quick fire, can I just say there's a new season or new series, because I'm British, new series on Netflix of one of my favorites, Somebody Feed Phil, this is Phil Rosenthal, who you may recall, who I've said about, who's the writer of Everyone Loves Raymond. He goes around the world, just tries all the different cuisine. It's absolutely fantastic. I don't need to go through it again, but let me just put it this way. He doesn't react like Gillian Watts or Keith in the food show. What he does is he just uses real life expression as to what he actually thinks of the food. Brilliant, brilliant program. Season or series 6 out now on Netflix. Come on. Love it.
Oh, good. No, I watched it when you recommended it, and actually he's got a very nice manner about him. I really like him.
I love him. I think he's brilliant. He's cracking. Anyway.
Lovely American actor who's doing the BBC Two series of going around Italy.
Stanley Tucci.
Stanley Tucci, which is worth watching.
I gave up on Inside Man.
He's on BBC Tucci.
Couldn't bear it. It annoyed me. I love Stanley Tucci. If it had just been Stanley Tucci bit without the David Tennant. I love David Tennant. Don't get me wrong.
Quick fire suggestion.
Go on. Yeah, quick fire.
So just before I finish, All Quiet on the Western Front is cinema, but it's Netflix next week. So if you want to see a big screen experience, it's out of the movies this week, or it'll be on Netflix from next week. I found something on Apple TV, which is an absolutely charming and delightful, sort of not really well noticed film called Cha Cha Smooth, which features Dakota Johnson, a lovely young man who's slightly hopeless, who finds that actually the only thing he's really good at is going along with his little brother to bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. And he ends up as being the young entertainer to get them all onto the dance floor. And it's beautifully played. It's absolutely lovely. It's written, directed, and acted by the same guy who is called Cooper Raiff. He's 25. He is ridiculously talented.
Blimey.
And that is on Apple and Honey TV. Thank you very much indeed for that.
Great.
Anyway,
Chantal, as always, thank you so much. Phil, Dave, as always, thank you so much. Most of all, thank you. A great pleasure. And for everybody watching and listening all over the world, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back Monday. Until then, try and stay out of trouble or get voted in as Prime Minister. Either or, your choice.